Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for the Powerful Devs Hack Kickoff, all about AI. My name is Anna. I'm an event planner for Reactor, joining you from Redmond, Washington. Before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. And while we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions. Our session is being recorded. It will be available to view on demand within 24 to 48 hours. With that, I'd love to turn it over to our speakers for today. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you, Anna. We're so happy to be here for this Powerful Devs Hack Together kickoff session. With me, I have some of the other Power Platform advocates, Gomo and Scott. So we have a lot in store for you today. Gomo, Scott, you want to talk about what you're going to be talking about later on?
Yeah, sure. My name is Homo. I am a cloud developer advocate on the Power Platform team, and I will be showing you guys how to be successful with your hack projects using AI Builder and AI prompts. So I'm really excited for that one.
Hey everyone, good to be here. My name's Scott. I work with April and Gomo, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about enterprise development on Power Platform and security best practices and how to make your solutions AI powered. And I'm just going to show you a sample that might be able to be used for a bit of resources when you're working on your hack solutions. And just want to take a moment just to thank the Reactor team for organizing everything, how amazing it is. And Anna, I think we should also take a moment to appreciate that amazing Reactor intro animation that you showed there. You know, I hope feel free, Anna, to just show it at any point during the presentation, just to spice it up a little bit.
It is a really nice animation. So you'll see more of that later on for sure. And I'm here. So those are going to be some really great demos and things you're going to see. Hopefully the goal of this session, this kickoff, is to give you some ideas and inspiration for what to do in your hack projects and kind of get the ball rolling if you haven't thought of a scenario already and give you some more ideas. What I'm going to be doing though is talking about some of the logistics. So just setting you up for what we're going to be talking about in the hack. So I'm going to go over some of what you can expect for coming up in future sessions and how to submit your hack and all of that. So let's kind of dive into the logistics. Then we'll turn it over to the fun stuff. We'll turn it over to Gomo to talk about some AI builder goodness. So what is Powerful Devs Hack Together and what exactly are you building? Well, this is a free 2-week virtual hackathon with the theme of secure and scalable AI-powered enterprise solutions with the Power Platform. So if you all caught the Powerful Devs conference that happened Wednesday, then you kind of got a glimpse of that theme. Leon did a great keynote kicking off. We had tons of sessions about ALM and source code and even integration with .NET MAUI. Those are the type of things that we're looking for you to build in this hack with that theme. So how can you join? How can you participate? Well, you can participate solo or in a team of up to 6 people. And if you want to submit, everyone that submits a project and fills out the form to be recognized for the recognition program can get this awesome Credly badge that you're seeing on the screen. So anyone can participate. You do need to register though. So I'm going to have some homework for you a little bit later on that really shows how you can register and how you can keep learning more. All right, so that's what we're building. There's no set problem that you're trying to solve, really. It's just anything aligned with that theme of secure, scalable, AI-powered enterprise solutions with the Power Platform. So it's really up to your imagination. And again, you'll get some good ideas from the sessions that we have later on. Now, when you are submitting your hack, though, we have different categories that you can submit your hack in. Of course, we're going to have a best overall, but you can choose to submit your hack in the best in integrations. So this is really about how are you integrating with other services, maybe outside of the Power Platform. So maybe integrating with Azure, things like that. Best in automation. So can you really show your automation skills with Power Automate, whether that's Cloudflow integration, Power Automate Desktop. Best in apps. So what are you doing with Power Apps? That's something really cool and unique and aligned with the theme. Best in Power Pages. Best in agents. Best in AI. So any use of the AI features, you'll get a really good example of this with AI prompts from Gomo later on of things that you can do in the best in AI category. And then best in power, which is really how are you using all of the different Power Platform pieces and products together to build a really cool solution. So you can choose one of these kind of categories to submit in, and each team that submits a project in here and that ends up winning in one of these categories will get a $550 US cash prize. So you have a lot on stake here to be able to win, a chance to win that you can split that amongst your team based on one of these categories. So what does it look like to actually submit your hack? So let's take a look. We'll go over to our Hack Together repo. This is all in GitHub. So first, make sure you have a GitHub account, and you'll go over to aka.ms/powerfuldevs/hack. That will take you right here. And to submit your hack, you'll actually go into the issues section of GitHub, and you'll submit a new issue and do the Powerful Devs Hack Together project submission form. So this will have everything that you need to give us the information that we need to be able to judge your hack. So we have a whole team of judges that'll be going through based off of the different categories that you have and rating and all your solutions here and being able to determine the right team to win in each of these categories. So you'll need to put in a project title. You'll have your name, a description of the project, and what's important here is really talking about what it does and what problems that you're solving with your project. And then the different technology and languages that you're going to use. So these are multiple checkboxes that you can choose. This helps us to make sure we're having the right people evaluate your project submissions here. And then you're going to need to talk about the theme of the hack, which is how is your solution scalable? How is it secure? And how is it AI powered? So really touch on those main theme points and show how it kind of fixes each of those problems. Then you're going to need to put in your project repository URL. So we want to actually see your code. So you'll want to put that on GitHub and provide us with that link to your project on GitHub so that we can go and install it and review it and evaluate it and see what you built. And then the other thing that we're asking for is instructions. So we're going to need some setup instructions on how to get this all configured so that we can properly test it and see what you built. And finally, we need your team members, and we need everyone's GitHub usernames to be able to match that up with the signups in the recognition program so that we can pass out the badges. And most importantly is probably this project video. So we need a no more than 8-minute video of you talking about your project and going over what it solves and all of that and kind of the ins and outs of what you built and why. And yes, this is only 8 minutes. If you go over, we're only going to evaluate the first 8 minutes just in the interest of time. We're probably going to have a lot of projects to have to review. So we want to make sure that we can get through those. And this is a link, as I mentioned, you need to sign up for our recognition program. So if you go to this badges link, which we need to fix, wow, this is live. We'll fix that. But there is a recognition form that you need to fill out to be able to get that awesome Credly badge. So that's an overview of how you'll actually submit your hack. But let's talk a little bit more about what else we have in store for you, and then a little bit of homework that I'll send you off with. So this is our kickoff. We had the Powerful Devs Conference on Wednesday. There's lots of great sessions you can watch on demand for that. If you want to go to that link there. We're going to kick off today, and then you're going to be hacking all the way until February 28th. So your submissions are due by 11:59 p.m. Pacific on the 28th, so make sure to get those in. You have between now and then. And along the way, we're going to sprinkle in some more live streams. So Anna and team will be helping us with some additional live streams. We have one on the 19th, which is the developer's approach to Power Automate. If you want to learn more about what you can do with Power Automate to kind of compete in that automation category, we're going to have some office hours as well. So if you get stuck and you have some questions, we'll have some live office hours where you can get questions answered. We'll have a great live stream as well from Paulo and Rabia from the M365 advocacy team talking about Copilot Studio integration with external connectors. And then we'll have a closing session. We'll bring on some of the other Power Platform advocates and our previous hackathon winner, Elliot, and our AI hack to talk about his experience and wrap it all up and hopefully give you some additional final resources to complete your hack projects. So before I turn it over to Gomo, just a little bit more homework so you can make sure that you're prepared to participate and keep learning with this hack. One is to register in STAR. Go over to aka.ms/powerfuldevs/register and make sure that you are registered for the hack, because if you're not, you won't be eligible to participate. If you want to get your badge, go to that link there. That will make sure that if you do submit your hack, you'll get that awesome Credly badge for free that you could share on LinkedIn with your friends. Start the repo for easy access. You're going to need to go to that repo to submit your project. So if you start it, you'll be able to find it easily. And then watch and learn. We're going to have more live streams, as I mentioned, but we have all of those collections of the Powerful Dev sessions, and we have a Learn collection and a Cloud Skills Challenge that you can participate in. So you can go to aka.ms/powerfuldevs/on-demand. And if you can't make one of these live streams, you can always watch those on demand and catch those Powerful Dev sessions. And then finally, find and ask. If you are looking for a team, if you don't want to compete solo and maybe you're looking for some other people to hack with, we have a discussion post in our forum there on the GitHub repo where you can find other people that are looking for teams as well. And if you have any questions going along, you can join the office hours. There's one happening later today and spread out throughout the hack as well in different time zones. So no matter where you are, there should be one that is convenient for your time. So you can ask live in those, or you can ask in our discussions, and we'll be monitoring those and answering all of your questions. All right, now that we got all of the kind of boring logistics out of the way, right? That's what you need to do to be able to participate. Now let's give you some inspiration of what you should do if you want to compete in that AI category and some things that you can do with AI Builder. And I believe we're going to bring Gomo back on to show us a really cool scenario. I got a sneak peek of this. It is totally awesome what he's put together to show you all today. So I'm going to turn it over to Gomo to show some AI Builder goodness.
Thank you, April. Hey everyone, for those of you who have just joined, my name is Homo. I'm a cloud developer advocate at Microsoft, focusing on the Power Platform. My amazing colleagues and I have had the greatest pleasure putting on the Powerful Devs conference and hack for you guys. And on the back of an amazing conference just last week, we are officially in hack mode, and we cannot wait to see what you all build. With that, I have a bit of time now to share how you can add intelligence to your hack projects with AI Builder, a tool that I absolutely love. Now, most of you are familiar with AI Builder's ability to supercharge your Power Platform solutions with AI in a low-code way. Traditionally, we've had AI models that were suited to various business use cases, whether it was document processing, text recognition, or even receipt scanning. All you had to do was select a model, train that model with your data, publish it, and then you could instantly invoke that model in an app, automation, or agent. No code was needed at all, which really democratized access to custom AI models for low-code developers. But now we have AI prompts. This is where you can let your creativity flow. Using just natural language, you can design and integrate custom AI prompts, whether you want to summarize text, classify any data, or even generate certain insights. AI prompts lets you harness the power of GPT and generative AI in your apps and workflows. But I'll show you how this works momentarily. As you can imagine, and if you know AI Builder, the power of AI in this tool really opens you up to a broad range of scenarios and hopefully ideas for your hack. With generative AI, you can categorize emails, extract key insights, or even generate appropriate responses. And it all starts by simply describing what you want the model to do in plain language, and then it will do it for you. If we take a look at documents, you can automate document-heavy tasks by processing structured and unstructured text. This enables you to pull all the valuable data from things like invoices, receipts, passports, as well as business cards in a matter of seconds. If we move on, and we're still on the topic of AI, we all know that AI is not just for text. In a world where we constantly need to handle multimodal data, AI Builder gives you the ability to detect objects, classify images, and even generate descriptions. making it super useful for things like inventory tracking, security monitoring, or even any type of visual inspections that you guys have. If we move on over to structured data, you can predict trends, you can forecast demand, you can gain insights from patterns in your data. So whether you're estimating your inventory needs or predicting exact customer behavior, AI can help you make smarter decisions faster. But now that we've seen how AI Builder can work across these industries and scenarios, let's talk specifically about Prompt Builder. Now, what is a prompt? Think of a prompt as a task or a goal that you give to a large language model. And with Prompt Builder, you're able to build, test, and save custom prompts that cater to a specific business need. A prompt can be anything from, can you summarize this body of text, to extract these 5 data points from this email, or even please generate a professional email response to this employee feedback. Since these prompts rely on the default trained knowledge to generate these responses, you're now also able to perform basic RAG by providing external Dataverse information to augment the knowledge of the model. For example, let's say you wanted to provide accurate order status updates to your users. Instead of relying solely on the model's default knowledge, you can ground the prompt with real-time order data from Dataverse by adding relevant tables and columns like order history and shipping. This way, you ensure that the AI will always generate responses based on live business data, making it far more reliable. And of course, this will not be a Power Platform tool if we didn't have a list of pre-built templates, a library of pre-built prompts that you can use for yourself. All you have to do is select one, edit it, and use it across your solutions. So I just wanted to put this on screen for a few seconds here. We've covered most of these in previous slides, but these are the key scenarios that have become accessible, well, easily accessible due to AI Builder prompts. With the power of natural language and Gen AI, we're not just using AI, we're customizing it to fit our specific business needs with zero code. And with that, let's see how we can actually build and use an AI prompt within the Power Platform. So I'll just go ahead and go into the Power Apps homepage here. And this is where we access our AI prompts. How we do that is we'll go into AI Hub on the left-hand side. And in the AI Hub, we have access to both AI models, AI prompts, as well as the AI library that I was telling you about. So let's go into prompts, and we can go straight into building our very own prompt. So I spoke very briefly about the prompt builder. This is the prompt builder within the Power Platform, and we can go ahead and start typing right away. So just to keep in mind, when you're building prompts, you need to try and build a well-structured prompt that will give you the relevant data. And we have a guide on this, and this guide really talks about telling the prompt what the task is, the context, what you expect from the prompt, as well as how to format the outputs. So we're going to follow these steps right now. So first things first, I'm going to specify the task to my prompt. So right there, I'll just say you are an AI assistant designed to process incoming email and expense receipts for accurate and efficient expense reporting. So that is the theme of this particular demo. So once I've specified the task, I need to give it context. And the way to give it context is by providing external data. This data needs to come from somewhere. So for example, we need to provide some sort of email data. And how we do that is we can just remove that, and we can click on add, and we can add an input. So an email body is usually made of text, so I'll have no problem adding a text input. So this data will change depending on whoever is sending out this email. So that's good. But then the next part of this is the actual receipts. And receipts are not text. They're usually documents, images, documents, PDFs, all types of data which is not text. And that is the beauty of having AI prompts, is that it doesn't just recognize text or understand text. It's also able to process data from other types of documents as well. So with receipts, we can do the exact same thing. We can go ahead and add, but this time we'll be adding an image. So as we click into adding an image, it's asking us to switch to GPT-4o. I'm going to click on OK for now, and I'll explain what all of that means. But for now, let's go ahead and name our input to put it in our prompt. So just like that, I've defined text input as well as an image or document input. That model pop-up that just came up has something to do with the fact that while you are building out your prompts, you have the ability to switch out the prompt settings. And one of those settings is the ability to choose a specific model that powers your prompt. So there are two models right now. The first is the GPT 4.0 mini model. This is a very fast model that is very good with analyzing text, and it's usually optimized just for text-based prompts. However, because we'll also be dealing with receipts, we need the more advanced GPT 4.0 standard model. This is better for both text and other types of data like images as well, which is why it forced us to make that switch. There are other things that you can set up, like the temperature. So the lower the temperature is, this leads to more predictable, more accurate results. And the more you put this slider up, then your results become more fluid. They are not always as accurate as you want them to be. So depending on the use case, you can set that temperature there. But we'll come back to those. Let's carry on building our prompt. So we have the task, we have the context, which is our data. Let's start setting up some expectations that we want from this prompt. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to say, for each email and associated receipts, we want to perform the following tasks. The first task is to categorize the expense. We want to make sure, we want to see if this expense is a meals category, or is it a hotel charge, is it parking, all of that. And lucky for us, I have all of these categories in an expense categories table that I have here. So I have all the categories as well as the description of each of those categories as well. And what I can do with this data is that I can ground this prompt in that data so it always picks the categories from that table. This makes it sure that we have a live document of the categories that we need. So just to show you what that actually means, if I say for the category expense, I want them to use the categories listed in. Let's go ahead and add. Then I will search for my expense category table. And then it's asking me to choose the actual column. So in here, I'm saying I only want the categories to be selected from these categories here. That's what grounding our AI prompt is. And then we can develop this further to say we also want it, if it's not sure on how to categorize those expenses, I would like it to also get the description and to use that description to shape their decision there. So each of these descriptions comes with what that category means. So use the context from the data and use these descriptions to categorize the expense. So once we have that second grounding there, or that second input rather, let's go ahead and finish out this first expectation. So again, we have text input, we have an attachment, and we also have grounding, all within the very same prompt. So we can go ahead and finish out the rest of those expectations. Again, from each seat, all I want is the total, the vendor's name, the expense date, as well as the purpose of that expense report. You'll see I've added some additional instructions here, like for the total, I'm saying if it's in a foreign currency, convert that to USD. If we get a date, or put it in the correct format there. You guys can argue in chats which date format is the right one. Well, we're looking forward to seeing those. But the last one is the purpose, right? We need to know what the purpose of this expense was, which is why I added a fifth expectation there to summarize the purpose in no more than 8 words. That will come from the email body. After we've told the prompt what we want, now we can ask the prompt to really shape the type of data that we are using. So under this output section here, let me just go ahead and remove that. Under the output section, I'm telling it, I want you to just give me category, amount, vendor, expense date, and purpose. I've also went ahead and added an additional item there called notes. And in these notes, I want the prompt to tell me about any issues that happened with each expense. Tell me about any issues, maybe flag if it was a non-economy ticket, flag if there's like a missing or unclear date, as well as let me know what the original currency was before you converted to USD. So there is our prompt. We've built out a pretty robust prompt. And right within the canvas, right here, we can go ahead and test the prompt and get a response from it. But before that, we need to give it some sample data. So what I'll do for the testing, I'm going to paste in a sample email that might come in. So this email speaks to the fact that I was in Johannesburg, I was a speaker at AI Tour. Let me know if you need anything more. And of course, we need a sample receipt. So this, I'll just go ahead and grab a simple receipt there for us to test as well. So with that, let's go ahead and test the prompt immediately. And we'll see what comes out of that. So this will just take some time. It's reading the email body. It's reading the receipt. It's going to be formatting everything exactly as we want it. So that will take a bit of time, but there's the answer there. As you can see, it's selected meals. It's given me a USD amount. The original was 500 South African rands. There's the date, there's the vendor, and the purpose of the expense as well. This is great. It all works well. But now we want to use this data across the Power Platform. Some of you might want to use this in external services as well. So what I'm going to do is on the right-hand side here, I'm going to go to my output and I'm going to select JSON. So it's great that the response is in text, but I'd rather have it come out in JSON so that I'm able to use it across various systems, various platforms. I'm able to play with that data a bit more, which is also one of the features that we have when it comes to building prompts. So inside of JSON, I'm going to click on edit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it the specific format that I want it to follow every single time. So I'll just go ahead and paste. I know it's a bit small. Let me try and go a bit of full screen. So you'll see that I have the exact JSON format that I wanted to display every time. So then when I test the prompts this time, what's going to happen is it's going to then generate the response as normal and then give me everything in to come. And there you go. The exact same thing as before, but in JSON format. This is much better for me to use in other systems like Power Automate. So I'm going to click out of this. I've already built this prompt before. There it is there, expense processor. And I'm going to quickly jump to my flow. This is a very simple flow. It's very linear. All that it's going to do is someone's going to send an email to their manager or to the expense email. They're going to submit an email with multiple attachments. It's going to get the profile of that user. It's going to create a brand new expense report. Then it's going to set a few variables that I need for later on. In the supply to each, this is the important part, right? We are able to grab the AI prompt and analyze each of those attachments. So just like how when we were testing it out, we needed the email text, we needed the attachments, we need to do the same thing here. We're passing in that data so it's able to iterate on those things. So for each of those, it'll add a new expense, it'll upload the actual documents, and then update the expense report table. So let's go ahead and test this very quickly, just to show you how this will work. Let me go and test it manually. So in my new tab, I have a email ready to go. As you can see, there are 4 receipts here, as well as the email body explaining what the expense report is for. Let's go ahead and click send. And as soon as that hits my email, that will then activate the Power Automate flow, and I'll quickly walk you through some of those steps there. So it should be coming in momentarily. There is the email, it's been sent. Let's quickly go back to our flow, and you'll see very, very quickly, it's going to quickly do the first few steps, because all it does is every time it creates a brand new expense report. So I'll show you what that does just now. As soon as that loads up, shouldn't take too long. There you go. So the email came in, it got the profile, it created a new expense report. So let's go into Power Apps tables. I'm going to refresh my expense reports data here, and you'll see that a new one has been created now. The purpose is empty because we don't know it yet, but there's the alias, the employee name, the submission date. Total amount is empty, and the approval is set to pending. If we go to expenses, the individual expenses, let me hit refresh. It's done 2 so far. So both of them are meals. It has the vendor, the amount, expense dates. We also have each of those documents. Let me go ahead and refresh again. The third one has just come in. That's a hotel expense. And I think if I refresh one more time, the fourth one is there, ground, which is an Uber, and the receipts are all in. I assume now the flow has run successfully. So now if we go back to expense reports and we refresh this, we'll see that now the purpose has now been updated. We now have the total, which is a total of all the expenses, and the approval status has been set to submitted. So that's the entire workflow that we have. It all started from the AI prompt, and you can go further with this. You can further customize your AI prompts to maybe say, hey, maybe flag this expense if there's a duplicate in the table. You can add additional actions to your Power Automate flow to send an approval to your manager, to set up an entirely new flow for reimbursements, right? The possibilities are endless, but the idea is that this started with an AI prompt created from natural language. Just going to quickly go back to my slides And just to highlight very quickly, you just saw me do it in Power Automate, but you can also use AI prompts in Power Apps as well by making your controls intelligent. So adding in your AI prompts as a data source, invoking them using Power FX, and any control, any button that you have in your Power App can become a smart control as well. Very quickly, moving along, you can do the exact same thing in Copilot Studio agents as well, where you are able to customize how the agents responds to the user using prompts, using grounded data, so the data is always relevant and fresh for the user. So just some quick key takeaways. With AI prompts, we are able to use the power of GPT to analyze email, text, documents, images, all types of data in any amount of ways for your scenarios. We are now also able to ground our AI prompts in data to make sure that the AI prompt is relevant and it's not just relying on old default knowledge. And of course, the ability to use these AI prompts across the Power Platform is really, really cool as well, as you've seen with Power Automate, and I'm sure that you guys will use them in your agents and apps as well. I'm going to stop talking now and give the stage over to Scott, who will be showing you a really enterprise-grade solution that I think will be really useful for you guys to take a look at. Thank you, Scott.
There it is. There's the cool animation. Thanks, Gomo. That was awesome. Really, really great demo there. Love seeing how you can just do amazing things. It just feels like magic sometimes. And I think this is what's so cool about hackathons, is being able to use all of these cool features, and also particularly the preview features, right? Because when we're building things for our organizations, for customers, for our teams, we want to use solutions that are supported in GA. But what we've got this opportunity in a hackathon is really just to push those boundaries and use all of those cool things and see how they work. And we would love to hear from you of your experiences as well alongside this. But as Gomez said, I would like to just show you a resource that you might be able to draw upon when you are doing your hack. So Elliot says, wait, what's GA? Yes, yeah, general availability, yes, but we don't worry about those things. We just use everything in production, right? But from an enterprise standpoint, obviously there are a lot of things that we have to think about. We have to make sure that it is going to be the right solution, using the right technology in the right place with the right amount of supportability. And so when you are looking at your solutions, we want to see how you've thought this through. We want to see how you're using Power Platform to be a powerful developer, a powerful dev, but still making sure that you thought about enterprise grade software. And there is a sample. This is a link, an AKA link /pp/Contoso Real Estate, which is built upon there was a JavaScript solution that was built by our team using pure JavaScript and Azure and Azure Functions. It's an awesome solution. It's got so many different parts in. But what we did in the Power Platform Advocacy team, we took that and we just saw, okay, well, which parts of that can we use and replace with Power Platform and augment it with Power Platform? Not replace all of it, because we still want to draw on all of the power of Azure, all of those components that we may already have in our organization, that are already in use in other parts of our organization, or are so baked into so many different systems that there's no way that we can change them, right? So we use Power Pages and Copilot Studio and Power Apps and Power Automate and custom connectors to integrate into those Azure functions. But also that gives you the opportunity then to innovate and experiment quickly using all of those, the modern collaboration platforms such as Teams, and then build upon that and rapidly respond to business demands. And it gives you that agility, right? So when you're building enterprise scale solutions, I saw actually in the chat, someone mentioned the fact that you could do things with Logic apps, right? So absolutely, Logic apps is a great solution. In fact, Power Automate is built upon Logic apps, but you have to think about certain different things. So like a composable service-based architecture, how can you reuse what you've already got? How can you build up your solution in various different components? You have to think about transactional elements. So making sure that in the Contoso real estate example, there is when you do a booking, you want to make sure that there's two reservations are not going to happen concurrently, so you don't end up double booking, right? So and also error handling. Error handling is one of those things that sometimes an afterthought, but show us how you've thought about this. Show us how you've thought about doing things like retrying of transient network errors and fault handling. Show us how you've thought this through and how your solution actually handles that. And performance monitoring and optimization, application insights is a really good example of that. And so if you can show how you've actually thought about performance and how you've thought about how you can monitor that performance, these are all going to be things that will give you a lot of points in your marking area. And unit testing and CI/CD, again, these are things that we need to think about when we're building applications that are going to be supported going forward. So when we make a change, we don't end up breaking some existing functionality. And when we end up rolling out new versions, we want to make sure that we can easily roll out a new version. So again, these are all aspects of enterprise grade software that sometimes when you're just building proof of concepts and things like that, you forget about, right? But show us how you've thought these things through. So one of the ways that I like to think about it is that when you have all of the goodness of Azure and all of the goodness of Pro Code, it's very easy to sort of start with that if you're used to doing those things. But with Power Platform, because it's all built on top of that goodness of Azure, what we can do is if we can start with that, we start with seeing how far we can get with our Power Platform and then push the boundaries of low code and Power Platform. And then if only when you can't actually push the boundaries, then you can then say, right, okay, let's go and do a bespoke solution inside Azure. Or maybe you say right from the beginning, actually, we already have this in Azure, so we're going to reuse it and use a custom connector. Or you might say right from the beginning, there's absolutely no point in using Power Platform because we know immediately that that's not going to work. For example, if you're building a game that's going to be deployed to the App Store, and it's going to be used by many, many hundreds of thousands of people. Again, that's not suitable. But that doesn't mean to say that you throw out Power Platform at all across everything else. You still may be able to use Power Platform for other parts of your solution. So start from the outside on this diagram and then work your way in. And a good example of that is PCF controls, because PCF controls really allow you to push the boundaries. Now, this is the Contoso real estate repo here. And so inside the source, if you browse this, you'll be able to see that there are 3 different solutions here. There is a PCF solution, there is a core solution, and then there's a portal solution. And there's also an Azure API, which is using Bicep to deploy into Azure. And so we have a segmented solution here. So we've got 3 different solutions. So again, think about this. Think about why would you segment your solutions? So the ideal is to start with a single solution, right? But then there are some reasons why you might want to segment. So in this case, we've got some PCF controls, and PCF controls are used inside Canvas apps. And so we want to be able to maintain the versioning of our controls separately to the versioning of our Canvas apps. So they're packaged as a separate solution. And then the core solution contains some custom connectors, which then are used in the portal solution. So again, that gives us a reason to segment them out. But let's think about, so that we mentioned error handling, right? So for inside here, here is a flow, and this is the checkout that's used part of the Power Pages site. So if we go into our site here, this is the Contoso real estate site, and we can go into listings, and then we can search for listings. And this is actually using a React front end here, but you could equally implement this using Liquid. And in fact, inside the solution here, you actually do have, there is a Liquid implementation as well. So you can see how that works. So it's a good example of how you might use this. But this is the React component here. And in the sample, there's two versions of this React component. There's a PCF version, but there's also a custom React web template that's then deployed inside Power Pages. So we can view the listings, and then we can then go and do a checkout. And this will actually uses, this goes and calls a Stripe backend in Azure. And then that would then call a Power Automate flow. And so there is some, you can see here, this is in a try catch block. So it's getting the user details and it's calling a custom connector to do the checkout. And then if something fails, it then returns that information to the portal, so that you can see this little red this little red arrow here. That means that that is being called if something goes wrong. And then the data that's the actual error message that's used is actually sent back to the portal. So think about these things. How do you handle the happy path, obviously, but also think about how do you handle alternative paths. And so the other thing is, like, if we go into a PCF control here, let's go into, this is the Canvas app, and this PCF control is used in multiple places. It's used in both Power Pages as well as inside Model Driven and Canvas app. This is a swipe component here, which allows you to kind of go full screen. You know, these are things that you can't do using Canvas app, but see how far you can push using low code. Only move into a PCF component where it really is necessary. But then the great thing is because it's a component-based architecture, you can then maintain that code separately and consume it in multiple different places. So show us how you've thought these things through. So the themes for our hack is, we've talked about enterprise scale, right? But another aspect of our hack is secure solutions. So this is another dimension that we'll be looking for. So look for, we're going to be looking for how have you thought about making your solution follow all the best practices of security. So for example, if you're using Copilot Studio, make sure that you've thought about sensitive data. So if you're actually authenticating all your connectors using the author of the Copilot agent, then you need to be very, very careful that you're only accessing that data using the least privileges. So maybe a service principal with the least privileges. They don't get access to data that they shouldn't. Making sure you've thought about DLP policies as well. And if you are going to call a Azure function like it does in the Contoso real estate, make sure you've thought about how you make sure that the person who's calling that custom connector can be authenticated against Azure using their Entra identity, and make sure you secure that using app roles. You know, avoid just simply giving everyone the keys to the kingdom through a single connector. Make sure that you're actually authenticating who they are before you go and call that Azure function. And there is a new feature, which is managed identities in Dataverse plugins, which allows you to call an Azure function using inside a Dataverse plugin. So if I come over to, this is the model-driven app, which allows you to maintain the listings here. And we've got a payments, if actually I go to let's go into portal model-driven app, and then go to the payments table here. This is a virtual connector, which calls the Azure functions. And this data is being returned from an Azure function. And so we are not storing any secrets. We're not storing an Azure function key. We're not storing a Entra ID application secrets. The virtual entity is actually calling Azure using a managed identity. And so that means we don't need to store secrets. But there's other ways we are using that as well. We're using, we're making sure we're secure as well from a security standpoint. So we've got a custom connector here. And if I go into my custom connector, which is the payments API custom connector, you'll see that we are, if I edit this here, we've got security set up here just so that it is using OAuth to authenticate. And you'll see here that we're actually storing the client ID, and actually the client secret as well is a environment variable. So you can see here that this environment variable is payment API app ID. So we're not hard coding this. And if we go into our solution, we can then come into our environment variables area of our solution, and if we go down here, and then if we look down at the environment variable, this app ID and the secret, let's open up the secret, you'll see that actually we're not storing anything in plain text here. We're storing it inside a Azure Key Vault, so that environment variable is being retrieved from a Key Vault. So think about these things when you are building a solution. It's very tempting, right, to just hard code something in. It's very tempting to just go, oh, it's just a proof of concept. But we're really looking for these enterprise grade aspects of your solutions. So the virtual tables, there are multiple ways of doing virtual tables. You can have a C# plugin like I showed, which is using a managed identity. You can then secure that using a virtual network. But there are also out of the box providers, for example, Excel and Azure SQL, SharePoint. So you can use those as well. The custom connector, again, you can deploy that inside Azure function, but it could equally be an external function, an external resource that you want to call. But if you are doing that, make sure that you, again, not hard coding any secrets, any keys that someone can get hold of, and then just suddenly call that external service without worrying about any user identity authentication. So another aspect of our hack is AI-powered solutions. Okay, so think about how you can use AI. And now Gomo showed a brilliant example of using prompts. There's a new feature, and as I said, we do have the opportunity in a hack to use all these new features. There is a new feature that allows us to customize the model-driven app Copilot, because if you have this turned on in a model-driven app, you might have used this already. So you can say, so if I can say like navigate, and it'll ask me like where I want to navigate to, or I can say navigate to listing reservations, like that, and then I can just say how many reservations were there last month, like that. So you can kind of have a conversation with it, and it'll kind of give you information about, it'll do queries for you. But what happens if you wanted to introduce some additional functionality in there? Well, what we've got now is we've got the ability to come into our app, a model-driven app, and we can then go into this little ellipses, and this is make sure you're using a preview environment here. And then you can click on configure your Copilot Studio agent. And what this does is it kind of creates a copy of that kind of built-in Copilot, but then gives us the opportunity to then edit it. So we can actually add in our own way of interacting with our data using all the richness of Copilot Studio. And so what's really quite interesting about this is when you've customized your model-driven app Copilot agent, you can actually see how it all works. So you can see all of the topics that are built in to a model-driven app agent. So you can see here like dataverse search, generative chart cards, all of this great stuff. But then I can just go and add in a new topic, which is pretty cool. So what other opportunities can you use? Now, in the Copilot Studio agent for the portal, so I go here and go to home, what we've got is we've got a little agent down here. So I can sort of ask information about, like, who is Contoso, and that uses the built-in portal Power Pages search, and it's searching my site for information, and it will give me information about and deep links into my site. But I can also customize this in the same way. If I've customized my model-driven app, I can customize that to add in additional topics. So what I've done here is I've added in a listing search topic. So And I'm using a prompt. So Gomo showed using a prompt, and this is actually using a prompt as well. So if I open up this prompt, what this is doing is this is showing how I can add in an ability to have a natural language search. So I showed you the React-based user interface for searching for properties. But what I can do now is I can actually say, well, actually, I want someone just to be able to ask, okay, I'm looking for a house, a modern apartment, or by the beach, or with city views, all these different things. And prompts are great for that. So I'm giving a prompt here to say, you're a real estate agent and your task is to understand queries about property listings and extract information. So, I'm listing all the different things I want to extract, like number of bedrooms, the keywords, the features. And I put a little thing here saying any others are added to the keywords. So I'm only searching for pool, gym, security, washing machine, and anything else just adds to a free text search down here. And then I'm saying, well, I want to output it into this particular format here, like give it a JSON structure. And I'm giving it some examples as well. So I'm like actually giving it some advice on how I would interpret certain queries and output it inside JSON. And then I can test that to make sure that it's actually working. And so you can see it's extracted city views and pools. So the actual sample, so I'm looking for an apartment that has city views and a pool. So you can see here it's taken pool and city views and identified those, and it's put pool in the features and city views in the description keywords. And now there's a new feature as well, which you might be able to utilize, which is actually outputting, and Gomo showed this as well. So you can then actually output this as a fixed JSON format, whereas before you had to kind of output as text and then interpret it as JSON, whereas now we can actually make sure it's always going to be output as JSON. And then it's taking this and then it's passing that into a set of OData queries here. And so it has a set of OData query. And what I'm doing here is, remember I was saying about enterprise scalability, you want to make sure that you log things that you can monitor the performance and monitor any failures. So I'm doing an application insights log here, and then I'm converting that and then putting it into a Dataverse query. So if I go into back into my agent here, so I can say let's grab a query that I had here, and I go and pop this into this here. So I'm looking for a modern apartment with pool and city view, which is the example we had inside our query there. And so what it does there is it runs that and converts it and gets the OData query, and then it's outputting it inside an adaptive card. So what this means is if we go into our back into our topic here, you can see here we get a record set out of our Dataverse query. But now what we can do is we can then go and take that search results, and output it in a very fixed way. Now, if we didn't want to, we could actually ask the LLM to kind of do that for us. So because we want to make sure it looks kind of nice, and then that allows me to kind of view one of these, and then I can go through the reservations process as well. Now, as you saw, I was logging that into application insights. So if I go into application insights, you can then look for failures, which means you're always going to be able to see what's going on. So you can see here there's some failures, and actually this is all of my services are logging into the same application insight. So actually this is a Stripe API call failure. So you can then start to see the trace between all the different things that are happening. So you might start in Power Pages, that might then go into Power Automate or a Copilot Studio that might go and call a custom connector, and you'll be able to see the end-to-end transactions of all these different things. And then you'll be able to also, using your custom telemetry events, go and then see exactly what events Dataverse queries are being used with which particular topic. So what's the user asking for? And so if you go into here, we can see our listing search query, and if I select that, then that gives us, in this particular case, trace an error message against any custom data. So all of these things, we're looking for. And if we go back to our slides, what we saw there is we saw a natural language prompt. Now, natural language is great because it's this new paradigm of interacting with software. You can also add in custom connectors inside your Copilot agents as well. So that allows you to have natural language integration connectors. And this is just a fantastic way of really opening up so many more opportunities to interact with your data, like we saw inside the model-driven app where we're querying our data. So, and you can take a look at all this, that sample repo. It also shows how you code. You've got all your Dataverse metadata. You can use .NET Build to build your solutions. And it will also build your C# and your JavaScript and your TypeScript alongside that as well. And then it does an automatic build inside GitHub. So it will then takes all of your source code, creates a solution out of it, releases that, stores that as a release, and then you can then go and release that as part of a pipeline as well. So you can go and see how it does that inside the GitHub repo, and then you can have different approval stages. Now you've got options, right? So you don't have to use, if you don't have any code, TypeScript or C#, you can actually use pipelines in Power Platform. And so you've got many different ways of deploying, but we're looking for how you've made an enterprise robust solution. So always think about how you're going to deploy it. It's not just about how you're going to build it and demo. So there are lots and lots of different resources here. So this is a list of resources that you can find out more information about Power Platform, Power Prompts that Gomo was showing, and I showed inside the Contoso Real Estate. There's the snippets library, which gives you lots and lots of great stuff, Power Effects and Copilot Studio snippets as well, some sample apps you can learn from. There's some great tutorials there if you go into the AI in action building with MCS. Power Automate tutorials, AI Builder prompt guys. There's the link there for the enterprise sample that I just showed, the Contoso Real Estate. There's a learning path for Copilot in Power Platform, and some fantastic Ignite on-demand sessions that you might want to see. So what's your next steps then? You've seen a lot today. We've seen how you can do amazingly cool stuff with prompts, with the latest GPT-4o, with image recognition. We've seen how you can then use that sample repo and make enterprise-grade solutions with error handling. We're using integration with Azure. So hopefully that should give you some ideas, some things like, okay, well, it'd be great to use this, and maybe you've used something already and you want to just push it to that next level. So please go and register, aks.ms/powerfuldevs/register, and go and look at as many resources as you can. Just try things out. Remember, this is an opportunity for you to really have fun, push the limits. There are lots of great live sessions as well that you might want to join. So there's a link there for the hack schedule. So you can learn some people showing some really awesome things as well, maybe give you some more ideas. And then remember, as April showed earlier, you make sure you need to submit your project at that link there before February 28th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. And so you'll be able to get lots of badges. And you can always catch up on all of these live streams as well by going to powerfuldevs/on-demand as well. So thank you so much for joining us. We're really, really looking forward to seeing what you're going to build, and really looking forward to being able to award you badges. But most importantly, we're looking forward to giving that prize, that grand prize out as well. So thank you so much for coming, and we will see you on the next live stream.
Thank you all for joining, and thank you to our speakers. This session is a part of a series. To register for future shows and watch past episodes on demand, you can follow the link on the screen or in the chat. We're always looking to improve our sessions and your experience. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear what you have to say. You can find that link on the screen or in the chat. We'll see you at the next one.